tomorrow. Will there be a spill for the Liberal leadership?
I don't believe so. I'm advocating against a spill. I've consistently advocated against a spill both publicly and privately, and I'm not anticipating one.
So, you publicly shook the hand of Andrew Hastie last year. We saw those images. Hastie's ruled himself out of a potential spill. Yeah, there's the shot there. Are you saying that you'd support, if there is a spill, would you support Sussan Ley over Angus Taylor?
Absolutely. I'm a member of the Shadow Ministry. I'm a member of the leadership group. If I were to support a spill, I would have to resign from the leadership group and from the Shadow Cabinet, and I haven't done that. And if I advocate for a candidate or for a spill, the first person who would know before I did so would be Sussan Ley, and I haven't called her to tell her that. And so you can continue to safely assume that I support Sussan's leadership.
Okay. I just want to race through a couple of policies outside all of that, James, just because it's our first time this year. So, the government this morning has rebuffed questions over its plans to limit the capital gains tax discount, saying its housing policy is clear. This was Richard Marles earlier today.
In explaining our position in relation to housing policy, we do accept that there are intergenerational challenges in relation to housing, but the way in which we are dealing with that is on the supply side, making sure that we are having more houses built around the country. Now, that's been our strategy for a number of years. That continues to be the strategy. That's what we took to the election.
Just this week came out figures that the housing numbers aren't being reached. But anyway, this all was kicked off by the SMH today, James. A trimmed discount for the capital gains tax could form the centrepiece of Jim Chalmers' budget alongside other tax measures to help young people buy homes. What's your response to that?
Well, let's be very clear about this, Pete. If the government breaks an election commitment, which they've taken to successive elections, to make no changes to capital gains tax or indeed negative gearing, it will be a very serious breach of faith with the Australian people, and it will be a desperate grab for revenue from a government that can't keep spending under control. We saw between the election time and the mid-year and fiscal economic update just before Christmas that there was a $57 billion blowout over the medium term in the budget bottom line, and no Albanese government minister, from the Treasurer to the Finance Minister, has yet to provide an adequate explanation for why and how that occurred.
Well,
we have deficits as far as the eye can see.
No one believes there's a spending problem. I spoke to the Treasurer about that this week, and even Richard Marles this morning. They don't believe that the spending is excessive.
No one in the Albanese government believes there's a spending problem, but there are dozens of respected independent economists who are crying out for some fiscal restraint here in Canberra. It's very clear that when you spend the highest proportion of the economy in 40 years outside of a recession or a pandemic, that is going to put upward pressure on inflation and upward pressure on interest rates. And economists are calling this out. The thing that Jim Chalmers and Katy Gallagher have complete control over is government spending. They could take the pressure off inflation. They could take the pressure off interest rates if they chose to exercise just a little bit more fiscal discipline than what they have over the last 4 years.
Where would you do that, by the way? Where would you cut? Where would you make trims?
Well, a very good example that we've demonstrated on a big scale is the government's electric vehicle tax incentive, which was supposed to cost $90 million this financial year, but will instead cost $1.35 billion this financial year. So you're talking about a 15 times blowout in the cost of that program. It continues to get worse every day. I wouldn't be surprised if next financial year it's blown out even more. That's a program which is running off the rails, which is costing taxpayers money, and which doesn't even achieve its stated objectives at a reasonable cost, because its carbon abatement cost is about $1,000 a tonne, according to the Productivity Commission. And the beneficiaries, even according to the industry, are overwhelmingly high income earners. So it's a shocker of a policy failure, and it's an easy save that the government could take at any time.
All right, I've gone way over time, James, but I just want to ask you one more. Isaac Herzog he's coming here, the Israeli president, on the weekend. There has been some concerns from Labor MPs at a state level, but also at a federal level too. Ed Herzog, one of them. About inflammatory comments that the President has made in the past. What are your thoughts ahead of the President's visit here and concerns about protests getting out of hand?
Well, the Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, has for many years spoken about the importance of a government speaking with one voice when it comes to foreign policy. But it seems that the Albanese government has many voices when it comes to foreign policy, that Ed Herzog gets to have his own foreign policy and Penny Wong has a different foreign policy. It wouldn't surprise me at all to learn that Ed Herzog's views are widely shared within the Labor caucus, and perhaps we'll learn more about that in the coming weeks. But it seems extraordinary to me, and frankly an act of bad faith and a terrible gesture towards the Australian Jewish community, that we can't even have the president of the Jewish state of Israel come to Australia after Bondi for a memorial for the purposes of providing comfort to the Australian Jewish community without Labor MPs publicly running it down and attacking it. I think that's appalling.
Okay. James Paterson, thanks for your time. As always, we'll chat to you again next week.